authentically. It's your time to rise and shine. Empower life with Cleopatra. Awaken the best version of you. Your journey starts today. You've got one life to live. Love yourself, be kind to others, break free and let your spirit soar. Empower life with Cleopatra. Will help you awaken the best version of you. Empower life with Cleopatra. Empower life with Cleopatra.
Hello, hello, hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thank you for joining the show. Happy Easter, everyone. Let's see who's at the chats. Okay, I'm waiting for you guys to join the chat. I'm waiting for you guys to join. And oh, where's one of our guests? They should be joining us again soon. Hello, everybody. Happy Easter. Happy Easter. Happy Easter, guys. Come on, join. Let's wait for you to join so that we can get cracking. It's going to be a good one, guys. It's going to be a good one. All right. I want people to join the chat before I introduce. And when you join the chat, please put something on the chat to say Happy Easter or a heart emoji or whatever you want to put. Just put it there. Let me know you're here. Go on. Let me see who's here. I know that there are 5 people in chats now, which is really good. Well done. Let's see who's here so that I can actually begin the show. Welcome, everybody. Welcome. Lagos Youth Club with Skate Park. Happy Easter, Lagos Youth Club with Skate Park.
That's my friend.
Is that your friend?
Yes.
Hi. Thanks for joining. Happy Easter. Are you a man?
Friend.
Seen this friend. If you're a man, I wanted to say Happy Easter, darling, but I thought maybe I should. Happy Easter, whoever you are. We love you. We thank you for joining. Who else is on the chats? Okay, listen, guys. This is going to be a good one. So I'm going to start by introducing. Gosh, where's my guest? He's disappeared. He was here a few minutes ago. Okay, I'm just going to start and hopefully he'll join us again. Good evening, everyone. Once again, happy Easter to you guys and welcome to Empower Life with Cleopatra. I am Cleopatra and thank you so much for joining, especially the subscribers, the regulars who always support this show. Honestly, I don't know what to say, but all I can say to you is I will always give you a shout out on this show to say thank you. I see you. I love you. I appreciate you. And thank you so much. If you have any stories to share and would like to be my guest on the show, please email empowerlifewithcleopatra@gmail.com. Now, if you have any confessions to make, anything that's troubling, you know what they say, confession is good for the soul. So if you got anything at all that's troubling your mind, and you just want to get it off your chest, seek solutions, or you want to remain anonymous even, please also reach out to the same email address, empowerlifewithcleopatra@gmail.com. And I can guarantee you we will assure that you are anonymous. We will not show your face. We can even distort your voice if you want. Now, before I go further, I want you all, if you haven't liked or subscribed yet, to hit that subscribe button, like this video, share it. I don't want you to miss any second anytime I drop the next video, okay? And if you're going to be watching this video later, please watch it to the end. Don't just start and then leave it after 5 minutes. Watch it all the way to the end, because that way, YouTube algorithm would recommend this video to somebody else, yeah? Now, also, I would want, if you guys have any suggestions or ideas of how we can improve this show, if you have any other content you want us to create that you think you would enjoy, please send an email also to empowerlifewithcleopatra@gmail.com. So tonight, we are lifting the veil on one of the most pressing issues of our time, modern parenting. There's so much to unpack with this topic. So I think we're going to probably split this show in two. So please return next Sunday, God willing, to the another show. There's part two of this. Right. We live in an era where parenting styles trend on TikTok and Instagram, where influencers are often mistaken for experts. But beyond the filters and the hashtags lies a critical question. Are we raising emotionally strong, responsible adults? Or are we creating a generation that's unprepared for real life? Is modern parenting truly enlightened, or are we unknowingly building a house of cards? This evening, we confront the big questions that many people may tiptoe around these, but we don't care. Tonight, we're going to be stirring the pot. We're going to challenge assumptions and maybe, just maybe, discover the truth behind what's working and what's failing when it comes to raising the next generation. Now, I will not be doing this alone. Definitely not. Tonight, I'll be joined by three incredible guests from diverse backgrounds. They are all parents and they are all thought leaders in their own rights. And they are not afraid to speak their truth. And I hope you guys in the chat as well, you will speak your truth because I need your engagement as well, right? So first, let's welcome Cindy Eden. She is a regular on the show. You guys have seen her quite a few times and will be co-hosting with me from time to time. All right. You may have seen some of the shows that she was in, which is like the menopause, sex, and HRT, and also the overcoming postnatal depression, where she shares her experience. Right. If you haven't seen that show, please, you better go and see that show. Right. I would encourage you to watch it, and you will be glad you did. Seriously. She's a seasoned IT project manager, a passionate advocate for women's mental health. She empowers others by sharing her story with honesty and hope. She's a devoted wife and a proud mother of two boys. Cindy is an author in the making. Cindy, we can't wait to read your book. It's going to be a juicy one, I'm sure. Her story is one of courage, emotional healing, and the unwavering strength found through her faith in Jesus Christ. Through her lived experiences, Cindy offers a message of resilience, restoration, and renewed joy, inspiring others to believe that healing is possible. Next, we have Deji Babalola. He was one of the guests in the show we had a couple of weeks ago titled Modern Men's Challenging Body Image, Mental Health, and Fatherhood. If you have not seen that show as well, trust me, it's one of the second highest views we have, right? Just please go and watch it. I've had so much positive feedback about that show that I had to ask him to come back again for this show. Deji is a dedicated IT professional and a minister of God with an unwavering passion for uplifting others, whether through faith or mentorship or simply extending a helping hand. Deji has been a source of encouragement for many. His commitment to guiding people through life's challenges makes him a truly inspiring person to be able to come to this show to contribute. And last but no means least, we have Collins, Mr. Collins. He's not here yet, but he will be joining soon. I think maybe something happened because he was here with us a few minutes ago. And I think maybe he's got some technical problems. But Mr. Collins, Archie Pierce, is a prolific film producer. He's an actor and director and has featured in over 60 Nollywood/Sollywood films because he's actually from Sierra Leone and has won over 80 awards. He's also a senior manager at London Underground, where he has worked for almost 30 years. Wow. He's happily married with 3 children and 2 grandbabies. Oh, I love that. Please, guys, welcome my guest. Welcome my guest. Well, throughout the show, I want to hear from you guys also, the chat in the chat. You guys make this show really amazing. So I want to hear from you. Just drop your thoughts in the comments and tell us where you stand and don't hold back. Just feel free to respond to whatever questions that we throw your way. So let's dive in. Let's begin with gentle parenting. Now, for those of you who don't know, gentle parenting is the parenting approach that prioritizes empathy and understanding and respect in interactions with children rather than relying on punishment or control. Gentle parenting emphasizes on building a strong connection with children and fostering their emotional well-being while setting clear, consistent boundaries. Well, however, it would appear that parents may have misinterpreted the meaning of gentle parenting, as this has been counterproductive, right? Now, with that in mind, I'll ask you, audience, first of all, do you believe gentle parenting goes too far and makes children unfit for the real world? And I'm going to ask the same question to my guest. Is gentle parenting raising emotionally weak adults? And the first question will go to Cindy.
I knew that was coming. Oh, there are different interpretations to gentle parenting, but I
Okay.
have the view that godly and smart parenting works best.
Yeah.
When God is involved, you're filled with supernatural wisdom to
Yeah.
bring up your children. You know, for people who have been watching the show, you know that I always bring God into everything because that
That's
has
right.
always been my guide.
That's right.
And for non-believers and believers likewise, you just need to be smart in your thinking. Try to be in control of parenting your children, and not the children controlling or manipulating you.
Mm-hmm.
Because kids, right from when they are very young, manipulate. I can tell you that. I'm telling you, from when you carry them in your hands,
Mm.
because they know the buttons to press. They
Very.
know when they scream, mommy will come running. They know when they do something, mommy will do this. So kids know exactly what they're doing. You know, this starts from very when they are very young, during their formative years. If you start too late, you will bear the consequences of your idea of parenting. You need to start early. A lot of parents try to be friends with their children. You can't be friends with your children, especially, I mean, as in young children into the teenage years. You are supposed to be parenting them. They're not supposed to be their best friends. And that's where a lot of parents get it wrong. You know, while you are parenting them, you can still be close to your children. And your children really do appreciate the fact that you are setting boundaries for them. You know, so a lot of parents, you have to be the parent trying to set boundaries. Don't let the child set the boundary for himself or even for you, because you find children controlling their own parents. So gentle parenting, I don't believe in it. There's something called tough love, especially if you have difficult children. You have to be tough, and at the same time you're showing love. I would also advise that whatever you do with your kids, never do anything out of anger. Because when you portray anger, the kids can see it. And it brings about a negative, response from the children. So you need to nurture. And, don't let me ramble off. My brain has frozen up right now. So I'll leave it to somebody else. If I have more, if I get to round to what I wanted to say, I will
Oh,
let you
trust
know.
me, there is a lot to talk about. Let me just quickly give a shout out to those in the chat, and then I'll ask Deji to proceed with the question as well. Hello, Maureen. Thank you for joining. Happy Easter, sis. Hello, Lola, Babs. Thank you so much for joining. It's so good to see you. Yellow Mellow Fellow, Gary. Thank you so much for joining. Yay! Gary's going to be joining the show next week. You guys watch out. All right. Robin, happy Easter, Robin. This show, it won't be without you. It won't be the same without you. So thank you for joining. Lola, Yoyi. Thank you so much, Yoyin. Happy Easter. How have you been? Thank you so much, guys. Okay, now, Deji, gentle parenting. What do you think about it? Does it raise emotionally weak adults?
Well, very, very, very interesting. I mean, just following on from, Cindy's opening line, because, when you say gentle parenting, you're trying to say you're raising those children in, an environment that is really conducive, where they can grow, where they can, learn things, in the right, environment. However, the thing is this, there's two sides to that. You can be way too soft, in raising that child, and then that child is not, properly emotionally well balanced. And, that is what, the what is really perceived, and that is what's, within the culture and the society we're in right now, that is what seems to be the order of the day. And that's what you're doing, to the children, because you're not raising them according to, God, who started the whole, procreation, his way, and what we're supposed to be doing as parents in raising those children, in the admonition of the Lord. And children without discipline, then that child tends to ruin. So the gentleness, if it's done in the right way, with love, care, discipline, the right guidance, according to the dictates of what the Lord does prescribe, um, to us as parents, then honestly, it is a brilliant thing. Otherwise, you've gone a totally different way, and those children would not be, well balanced. So that's my view on that.
I'll, I'll play the angel's advocate in this, and then I'll ask Colin to obviously come in with his take on it. Now, just remember that not every parent is a Christian.
Mhm.
All right. Let's
Yeah.
also remember that there are some there are some countries or some races that do not practice Christianity. In fact, they practice maybe Hindu or Sikh or other religions or Krishna or something, and yet they raise their kids in an upstanding way.
Mhm.
So let's remember that. So I'm just putting that out there. Collins, please carry on.
Okay. Yes, I support the two speakers who've actually pointed out about this gentle parenting thing. I am one of the few people who more like I'm very strict when it comes to bringing my kids up. So I use them as example. It's easy for a child to manipulate a boy to manipulate the mom, same as a girl to manipulate the dad. You understand? Because I remember sometimes my daughter will come up to me when she was growing up. She comes sit on my lap. Hey, daddy, you're the most handsome gentleman I've ever seen. And I said, what do you want?
What do you
Just say
want?
it. Yes. That's how they start playing the game so that you can now fall for whatever they want. And then if she asks for anything, I would ask, what benefit is it going to be to you? You understand? And lots of questions I would ask. And if I see it, I deem it fit to give, I will give, or to do, I will do. You see, but some parents are there, they spoil their kids rotten. And when they start doing that, it's going to be too late to bring them back to say, hold on here, because you've made a mistake. You let the kid know that he can, or he or she can have his own way. When they ask for something, if you don't give it to them, they throw tantrum. They do things, spoil things in the house. So that's one of the reasons why some parents go down the road of gentle parenting. So, okay, let me just pamper the kid. Let me bring the kid up. And you spoiling that kid. And when that kid grow up or whatever situation he or she finds him or herself, they would not be able to stand up for themselves. They will not be able to, like, all they will be doing now is, oh, I used to be pampered. Say, for example, let me give you a good example here. Um, when I was back home in Sierra Leone, I'm from Sierra Leone anyway. My mom used to spoil me to the extent that when I was at uni, she would get the driver to deliver my food at uni. So I didn't know how to cook. When I got married, I was like, that's one of the ways my wife used to punish me. Okay, you go and cook for yourself. You know, if we're not like we're having a little bit of a dispute. But this gentle parenting thing, the way I see it, is going to make adults so emotionally weak that you're going to start asking, did my parent do me any good by bringing me up that way? You understand? I know Deji was talking about Christianity. Yes, you're right. Christian, I'm looking at it from a point of view, not a Christian home or anything, but parents who are so attached to their children that they pamper them, they give them everything. They don't even let them think for themselves. That's how I see this gentle parenting. I denounce it. It's not good. You do the stick and the carrots, push and pull. You understand? When I discipline my kids, I bring them back, find a way, and I will look for what they like and give to them. Say, okay, come on, don't be naughty anymore. Yeah, don't be naughty again. Your dad loves you. I'm doing this for the betterment of you. You understand? And try to let them know why you're doing it. Sometimes you spoil the kid. They think that's the best way to do it. And when they're on their own, they can't do anything because your mom or the dad is not there to like guide them. I'll stop here for now.
Yeah, I have something to say to add because my brain is back functioning now. So, what from what Colin said. Colin said something about children. Children manipulate parent against parent. I remembered in those days when the boys were young, they would ask their dad for something. Dad says no. Then they come to me because I wasn't aware that they have said no. But I learned something that, when they come to me, so they come to me and they said, Dad said, Mom, can I, the first thing I ask, have you asked your dad? And they will say, yes. So what did your dad say? Dad said, okay, that's what we're doing. Because you can't counter what your partner or your spouse is doing. Otherwise, you're creating a real big problem. Once the kid starts finding out that, you are easily, they can easily manipulate you, then that problem, you will not get out of it. That's one. And the second thing is, when we talk about non-Christians, because I'm aware that there are people that are non-Christians there, you need to be a smart and wise parent to be able to deal with your kids. Because like I just said, they can manipulate you. So you need to be very smart about it and how to respond to them. And when you notice a bad behavior in a kid from when they're young, I used to say something then, a lot of parents used to say, oh, they're still young, they don't know what they're doing. Please don't say, no, I don't believe that. Because they know exactly what they're doing.
Yeah.
Once when you start noticing something, like for instance, you notice a child. I remember, I'll give a typical example. My two boys, sometimes when they were younger, they kind of like playing around, and one is saying, no, I don't want it. And then he's still doing it. In my brain, the fire alarm goes off. And I'm like, no. This is how children grow up to become something they shouldn't be, especially when it comes to relationship. When a girl says no, you are not listening. So I quickly trained them from right there. I said, look, when your brother says no, no means no. He doesn't like it. You need to stop. Because if you don't train them to understand that, it becomes a problem later in the future. So there are little things that you need to be very conscious about and be aware of, and just quickly nip in the bud before it escalates. And the final one is the fact that, and I think I said this last week, a lot of parents these days, because they want to be friends with their children, you can be friends with your kids when they are probably like in uni. You can start developing friendship with them. But when they are in their formative years into their teenagers, you can't. It's not possible.
Can I come in, Cindy?
Pardon?
Why? I'm sorry. No, sorry. You're saying you shouldn't be friends with your kids. People might interpret it the other way. You understand?
What I mean is that you can't be friends with your kids. It's like you want to be, you need to parent that child. You need to set boundaries. You cannot be best friends in terms of not being able to control that child. Not being able to put them in their place, not being able to tell them what is right and what is wrong, because you always want to look good in front of your child.
No, it's good. So long as you've expounded it, audience will understand. Because
friends, I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, friendship in terms of you want to, how do I put this now? I think you understand what I'm saying.
No,
No,
I
totally
understand.
understand.
Yes,
Totally understand. Totally understand. Let me
yes.
So the
quickly take
final thing is
Yoni's,
like that you shouldn't, with the children being raised today, because of this problem, is that we're raising kids to be weak, to be selfish, to be self-centered, rude, and also entitled, especially the boys, where the boys feel, because mom has pampered the boy so much, the boy feels everybody must do something for me. I shouldn't be doing this. I remember the statement my husband made many years ago. My son was like 7.5 then. He was the first one. He said to him, I can't remember what happened, but he said to him, look, I'm not going to raise you to become useless to any woman in the future. You need to learn how to do things. You're not just going to eat and sleep. You need to learn to do something in the house. So I mean, those are the kind of things that we are talking about. We need to be very careful how we approach parenting with
yeah,
children, especially
yeah.
young.
Okay. Let me, Yoni says, I think it depends on what gentle parenting means to individuals for whatever culture it may apply to. Yeah, like I said, I mean, I defined gentle parenting when I just started, what it means, and, trying to be, sensitive and, empathetic with the child's needs, trying to always, nurture them and be so nice with them, removing punishment or discipline, when they do something bad. You try to want to reason with them and try to like understand and just let them get away with anything because you're trying to be like Cindy and all the panelists have said, trying to be their friend or trying to so but I'm saying, and I think everybody, that's what everyone has said here as well, that you cannot afford to be besties with a child who is in their formative years, because at the end of the day, when you want to correct them later, they become stubborn because they think they already have that relationship with you where you can't really tell them what to do. After all, you guys are close, and then it becomes very difficult. So thank you for that comment, Yoni. Please, guys, keep the comments coming in. Keep the comments coming in. Yeah. So now, with that in mind, does the background and ideologies of parents who had a poor upbringing, for instance, and they were raised with very low morals, does it affect the way they raise their own kids? And Collins, what do you think?
Yes, it does. Definitely, I can say 100%. Sometimes people say you don't give what you don't
Mhm.
have. You see, if the way you've been brought up is that kind of way, that wayward way, your parents, because I remember in the 90s, I think early 90s, 91, 92, I was actually living in Hackney. It's slightly a rough area at that time. You will see parents sending their kids to go and buy cigarettes for them. You see parents sending their kids to go and steal things from the supermarkets. Because, and I was fortunate to work as a security guard in one supermarket. So, I mean, around that time. And you see the parents who go there with their kids, but allowing the kids to nick the stuff. They don't take it though, because they know kids, you have to be careful how you deal with kids. So they can get away with it, and you can see the 12 of them pair up and they depart. So if you've been brought up in that way, for you to inculcate values into your kids now when you have your own kid is difficult. It's, again, I know people might say, well, yes, you might, like, when you grow up you change, you know right from wrong, then you, yeah, but still subconsciously you tend to, like, you won't be able to raise that kid up properly because of your ideologies, of the way you believe, the way you've been brought up. I'll give you another good example. If a kid swears in the house, like F word or whatever, if you used to it and that's how you've been brought up, for you it's nothing. And a stranger can pay you a visit and sit down and the kids start using all the F word, like, mom, what the F in this, what they are. The guest will be like, because he is shocked, but for the parents, that's nothing. Come on, you're just talking, leave the kid alone. You know what I'm saying? So for me, that is there. On the flip side, yes, perhaps you get married to somebody who is brought up the correct way. So that's where the dispute or the discord will come in the family, when the dad will say, no, I'm not tolerating this. The mom say, what is wrong with what he's doing or what she's doing? You understand? So I know people might be asking, what about if the dad is against it or the mom is against it or vice versa? So it's a case wherein It's no right or wrong answer there, but for me, something I believe 100%. If you don't have it, you don't give it. Thank
Deji?
you.
It, this is interesting because yeah, a lot of us has grown up in a different culture, and migrated over here. And for myself, as an migrating, coming over here, and then from a different culture, being raised differently, and then marrying a Caucasian woman in this country, you can now see difference in culture, and also difference in mindset in how children should be raised, how they should be disciplined. Because from my culture there is certain values that you cannot just omit. Respect, discipline, those sort of things. And from theirs there is a different way in which they approach it. Not that is all bad at all, but that is their way, that is their culture. And bringing those two together, um is, for me, was very, very interesting. Because then I could be like, oh, telling the children off in a very stern way. And while it's the other way, that, oh, you're too hard on them, take it easy. Or they might see it as, oh, you're being cruel, but you're seeing it as discipline, because we have grown up that way, and we didn't die. It didn't lead
Yeah.
us astray, so to speak. Growing up, obviously, in Nigeria, where I grew up, um, you know, to my teenage years, you see different things, among, friends, among people who come from, because I grew up, with my own mother, and my mother was very, very strict. It's a funny joke I have now with, my wife. My wife, you say, oh, when they were going out, that my mom would lock the gates, you didn't go out and everything else. But, really, and they looked at me as a bad boy, even though I was locked in the house. But having said all of that, it is important that what you see at home, from your parents, really, more or less, like, shapes you as a person, and that you also take on into your adulthood. But it's not, we saw them doing things that I never even tried to do, or I never even thought for myself to do. So that way is something that we have to consider. One, a single parent raising the children, or both parents there, and also different cultures, because we all have different mindsets of raising. And that was why initially, before I talked about raising those children in the right way of the Lord, because he's the one who instigated family, and we can't leave that out. And then everyone having their different ideas, their different opinion, you have to go back to the foundation. Because if you go visit the foundation, look at how that is, we can never ever get parenting wrong.
Cool. Thank you. Cindy?
For me, sometimes this matters and sometimes, it doesn't. It's either way. For some, they are from challenging backgrounds, controversial backgrounds, and they still carry on the same status quo with their own kids, And, for example, children from abused background, some, like what Colin said earlier, people swearing and cursing in the house. And, so it's like there are various issues. So some people, and for some people, the whole family all live, they live on benefits, and they don't think there's
Yeah.
anything that is wrong with that. It's not like, when I'm talking about living on benefit, they can work, but they just choose to live that way, because grandma was
Correct.
like that, mom was like that, and then it goes down, and they don't choose, they just choose to remain that way. While for some other people, their background, because of this background, they make up their minds that I'm never going to live like this, and I'm not going to let my children live like this, despite the fact that they came from such abusive or whatever background. Some people just make up their minds they're not going to live like that, and they are deliberate about it. Because
Mhm.
this thing is about being deliberate. You have to make up your mind that this is how I want it. This is what I want to do, you know. And so you watch the company your children keep. You make sure education is important, and then the area where you live as well. You want to live in an area where your children are not susceptible to gang culture or those kind of things, especially if you are coming from such backgrounds. So you want to be very deliberate. And there's religious parents, for instance, will naturally ensure that their children align with the faith in which they were born into, and nurture them along that line. So when you train a child to act, like for instance, when my kids were growing up, I remembered some things I used to do, because sometimes those things I used to write, I don't even know where the wisdom came from. I always just say that it was the Holy Spirit that was guiding me. When we're home, I tell before they go to the fridge, because there's some things you perceive and you see ahead of time, and you prevent it to make sure it doesn't happen. Because if you don't want your children to embarrass you, you had better train them. So I tell my kids, before you don't just go into the fridge to take anything, you need to ask. And the reason why I do that, even in their own home, is that I've seen children who come to visit and they just go into your fridge, opening your fridge and just taking things. And I'm like, what's this? So when I noticed that early in some kids, I quickly started training my children. I said, no, when you're at home, you don't open the fridge until you ask mommy or daddy, or you don't take anything before, even in the cupboard, the snack cupboard, you need to ask for permission. Till now, they are used to it, even though they are in their 20s, but they're so used to it, they don't touch anything
Are
without
you
asking,
kidding?
And that is not to say we are extremely close. The boys and I, we're very close. And there's another incident I saw at Tesco Extra one day. I heard this mother. She was cursing her son. She was, swearing and cursing and saying it will amount to nothing. That is why you are the way you are. And I'm like, what? I said, you didn't train this. I didn't say that to her, but I was saying it inside myself. I said, you didn't train this child. Because if you train this child will not behave this way. And then it's embarrassing you now. And then you are cursing him in public, which is not good for the child either. You are embarrassing the boy in public. So that's another, mental issue you're creating for that, because the guy that boy will feel so inadequate, so small, and it will affect him for a long time. So what Colin said earlier, if you don't have something, you can't give it.
Mm.
So don't blame the child when the child starts misbehaving. The question you should ask is that, did you train that child to not to do that? So we should
Okay.
stop blaming children when they misbehave. Did
Okay.
we train them?
Nice one. Yonyi says, I'm also very much of the school of discipline, but also putting into consideration what is relevant now in today's world that would be effective. There is a lot of patterns are there's a lot of patterns are the main issues. Okay, I didn't quite get the last sentence, but I see what you're trying to say about the fact that you're of the school of discipline, but also you're taking into consideration what's happening in today's world. Now, okay, what's happening in today's world? Are we really in support of the way things are happening in today's world? And should we really toe that line and try and raise our kids in line with what's happening in today's world? I understand that we need to be relevant, because I know that the way we were raised was good, because when we left home, we still had some amount of discipline because of the way we were raised. Like what Cindy was saying just now, the Bible says, train up a child in the way that he should grow, so that when he grows, he will not depart from it. So sometimes some values actually stick to you, that you can't even misbehave, because it's just not in you to misbehave. And then if we want to now toe the line of what's happening in today's world, what do we mean by that, Yonye? Are we now saying that we will be a bit lax, or we will be a bit more carefree in some of the ways we raise our kids? Okay, Ben. Hi, Ben. Thank you for joining, Ben. Yonyi says, as I was trying to say, that one of the main issues that's not glaring is the patterns that have been transferred from the effect of challenges that may have silently, and I think she's still going to continue. Okay, now, all right. The next question is this. Some say that it's your right as a human being to have children, right? Others argue that parenting is a responsibility that requires preparation, just like driving a car. If you want to drive a car, you need a license. If you want to, fish in any of the waters, you need a license. Even if you want to get a pet, you need a license, some sort of permission. So, do we need a license to actually have kids? Because there are some parents out there that you wonder, God, how? How? This person doesn't deserve to be a mother or a father. How? So do some parents need a license to actually be, especially if they've had a lot of criminal backgrounds, they've had a lot of criminal records, or they've been convicted so many times and all that, and they are not, you can tell that they're not fit to be parents, but they're having kids. Is that really fair? Deji.
Well, very, very interesting. The thing is the question that you said is, the license. Okay,
Yeah.
you want to marry, you go through counseling. You want to be a doctor, you're trained to be a doctor. And for parents, who trains us as parents. That's why, really, without that, boundary of having some sort of a godly guidance and that godly um structure, then one of the things is we're going to get that wrong completely, and that person or those individuals will need some sort of assistance.
Mm,
So you say about people who've had criminal backgrounds. There have been people who've had criminal backgrounds who've been able to raise children. But the question is, the individual themselves, are they stable enough for them to say, they want to start having children? As we're saying this, what is the person's mindset of raising children? Because something that Yoyi did say, which, I was, I do agree to a bit, is, in this day and age, things are different. The way we were brought up, the way we thought about, raising, or we were raised, is different to this day and age. Things are moving at a ridiculous fast pace, but that doesn't mean that the values should be missing from all of this. So in you saying that, do we need a license? I think, sincerely, once people decide that they want to have some sort of a start having children, there should be some sort of an oversight in helping them, knowing, checking on them. Are you people able to? Do you even have the right environment? Do you have the right home? Do you have the right resources? What are your plans for this child you want to bring in, so that this child does not become a nuisance in society? And are you going to raise this child to be, um, you know, uh, um, someone who you can look back and be proud of, or someone you look at and you'll be really, really disappointed? So there has to be that. And I'm a firm believer in, when you want to have your marriage counseling, that should be a key bit into it, where they're talking you through, because that bit is always left out. I don't know where, anywhere where they discuss that with you, and how you train the child and everything else. So most times the parents are just left to their own ideas. Oh, we love each other and we want to start having children. And you raise little Johnny in a way that, you people might be alcoholics, you might be drug users, and those things will affect those children. Or you expose those children to, abuse by others, and those things affect those children because you don't know what you're doing.
mm.
So yes, there has to be some sort of oversight, for the people who want to engage in having children.
Okay, thank you. All right, let's try and keep the questions, the answers, so as succinct, a little bit succinct, so that we can get a lot more in. Cindy.
Yeah, fiscal discipline. For me, it's like, first of all, the Bible says that spare the rod and train the child, which suggests that failing to discipline children appropriately leads them to become undisciplined and difficult to manage. And it implies consistent and necessary correction is crucial. for a child's proper development. So I personally don't think, I think I'm, sorry, yeah,
It's
I'm mixing my words up.
yeah.
Sorry. What the scripture was, we're talking about license, right?
Yes.
License, yeah.
Okay.
Essence.
So, like, yeah, the Bible says that children are the heritage of the Lord,
Mm.
and the fruit of the womb is its reward, you
Yes.
know. And for God, for God to decide that, that means that God wants all of us to have children, wants everybody to have the opportunity to have children. And when we start saying that, licensing, which means that would involve the government, I think the government is involved enough in our lives for us to be taking permission before we get children. But from what David said, when you are having your counseling, I think it should be incorporated into counseling session about having children, what it entails, so that even if you are eager to get married, you don't have to start having children immediately if you're not ready. Because they need to let people know what it involves, the cost and the effort it involves, and the nurturing that it involves in having children. So, and for me, is a government overreach, and for when we look at this area, that okay, children, because of discipline, we discipline our children, and or we don't discipline our children, but there's something that is common. Decency is common, is a must in everybody's life. Respect is important, and morals is also important. That is one thing that is common to everybody. So, unfortunately, the governing society has contaminated parenting in globally, not just in this country, globally, allowing children to just let loose and do whatever they like. Because even in schools, teachers can't talk to the children, and they can't be corrected.
Okay.
So it's it's a matter of having, through counseling, having that conversation, or your support system or your network should help, when people, and we do have, what's it called, bridal shower, or what do they call it? We have bridal shower. These are conversations that should come up in bridal showers as well. So for those listening who get involved in bridal showers, organized bridal showers, please let this be incorporated into bridal showers. Talk about children, talk about the effort and what it entails to have children, so that they think about it before they rush into having them.
Nice one, nice one. Let me quickly take comments from the chats, and then Colin will give his own opinion, and then I'll go with the next question. So Yoyin is saying, okay, Yoyin was just trying to point out or emphasize what she said earlier, and then Lagos Youth Club says, my children don't like me to use the word train. They say they are not dogs and don't need to fetch, So yeah, I guess okay, train. All right, I hear what they're saying. And Yoni says we need a lot of wisdom, knowledge, and patience to be effective as parents these days. 100% I agree. Lola says when you adopt and foster children, you have to meet a certain criteria to safeguard the vulnerable children. Okay,
Very
that's
true.
when you adopt. Yes, that's a good thing,
Very,
because they know that
very
you're
true.
bringing a child from a different background, and you probably don't know the child, obviously, and there are certain things they need to check to make sure that you have what it takes to be able to raise that, especially if they are vulnerable kids, or they've been abused as children, or their parents were drug addicts, and so they probably have some mental issues going on because they've been exposed to drugs while they were in the womb and stuff like that. Yoni says, yes, exactly. Thank you, Deji. I am not saying we should be weak. Totally, totally. Yes, I totally agree with you also, Yoyin. Mimi, thank you so much for joining. Mimi says, with the children, you also need to be a present parent to make space for the children to be able to have conversations with mom and dad. 1,000,000%, Mimi, you are so correct. And Yoni says counseling is key. Mimi says what you as a parent refuse to or shy away from teaching your child, the world will teach them. 100%. We believe that you discipline with one hand and love with the other. I couldn't agree with you more, Mimi. You're 100% correct. And Yonyi says, yes, there are some key values and principles to follow. And also remember, Mimi continues, also remember the laws of the land when it comes to children. That's the next question, Mimi. I'm going to be talking about a few things when it comes to the law of the land here and also in Africa. I couldn't just possibly mention all the other continents because it will be too much to talk about, but I will be addressing that in the next question. And Ben says, I believe that making a family, which includes having children, could be seen as a purpose-based initiative. Therefore, we should plan for it all the way till their independent stages. Like you got thumbs up, Ben. That's really true. The village is what is missing in today's parenting. Like, guys, you've said it all. It's true. So there's a popular saying, like Cindy was saying earlier, spoil, what's it called? Spare the rod and spoil the child. So is not spanking our kids? Is it damaging our kids? Yeah. Now let me cue in this table of what the laws are with regards to parenting children in the UK versus in Africa. So in the UK, for instance, when it comes to discipline, physical punishments, example, smacking is banned even by parents, right? Now, in many African countries, corporal punishment often is legal and culturally accepted at home and school. I remember when we were young, like, because I was born here, but I schooled in Nigeria as well, right? If you do anything wrong, thank God I wasn't too much of a naughty kid. But I remember that when you do anything wrong and, in school, and maybe they report you or something, when you get home, your parents, first of all, will smack you again. They won't even allow you to say anything. You can't defend yourself. They will smack you, march you down to the school, and get the teacher to smack you again, and they tell you, next time, try it again. You will think twice, right? Right? Because and a lot of kids grew up that way, and they turned out all right, didn't they? Now, when it comes to child welfare, in the UK, strong state intervention, the social services can remove children for harming or for neglecting your child. Now, in Africa, there's limited state intervention, right? Family community is expected to handle most issues, right? It's the family that will handle it. They feel it's not his own problem. And then education is compulsory in the UK from the age of 5 to 18. So parents can be fined if their child is absent from school. However, in Nigeria or in other parts of Africa, education is legally compulsory, but access or enforcing that sometimes is inconsistent. So you have some children that are taken out of school for whatever reason, and they probably will not check to find out why those children are out of school.
Mm-hmm.
In private schools, that might be different because they're private and all that, and there's more what's it called? There's more accountability. They would probably contact the parent and say, why is the child not in school? But in public schools in Africa, I don't really think they have the time really to be bothered about that, which is quite different in the UK. Now, homeschooling, which we'll talk about homeschooling in one of the other questions. So in homeschooling, it is legal, but it's regulated. Authorities will monitor your educational, how you raise your kids in terms of homeschooling here in the UK. In Nigeria or in Africa, it is rare and mostly it's not regulated at all. And it's quite informal. They don't really do a lot of homeschooling in Africa. When it comes to child autonomy or children's rights, children have legal rights to be heard in the UK and to also be involved in decisions when it comes to their lives. Because I've worked in the councils before where if they're taking the kid to court or whatever, or the parents are going to court, maybe for whatever reason, and the kids, they have to decide on that child. For example, who is the child going to stay with? They would ask that child, who do you prefer to stay with? And because they feel that child's opinion matters. In Africa, I don't really think they really would really ask, even if they do, not in a lot of cases, because they would feel by law, they have to do what's right by the child, whether the child likes it or not. you know. And I can go down and down and down. When it comes to religion, for instance, parents are free to raise their kids in any way or in any religion they like in the UK. But in Africa, religion and cultural norms are heavily influenced, by the parents. They really make sure that you abide by their own religion. In fact, they enforce it on you. You don't have a choice in the matter. You might change later, but when you're with them, you have to do what they say. And when it comes to sex and gender education, it is taught in schools from primary age to, and includes this LGBT and all kinds of other stuff when it comes in the UK. But in Africa, it's often a taboo. Who wants to talk about LGBT and stuff? Nobody wants to hear anything like that in Africa because it's against what we believe in. And then when it comes to governmental support, single parents receive financial or state benefits and housing support here. But we know that in Africa, support systems are usually very, very, if any at all, very minimum, right? So, and it's the family that takes care of their kids. So, in that way, then, based on what we've just said, is physical discipline an acceptable culture, or is it abuse? And is the government helping with the laws? So, audience, let me ask you. And by the way, if you're in the chat, if you're in the audience and you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe and please share. So, audience, also, did you grow up being abused or being disciplined as a child, and how did it affect you? Were you disciplined as a child, and how did that affect you? So, let me ask you, my audiences, my guests as well. Then, so is discipline acceptable? And Cindy.
Yeah, physical discipline. I believe in it to a minimum, to a point. That's smacking. Because when you smack a child, there's a connection between the brain, the point of contact, and the brain, and it resets the brain quickly. But when you beat a child and inflict wounds on this child, that is an abuse.
Yeah.
Because that's not discipline anymore. And one thing I always say is that when you're disciplining a child, don't beat or smack a child out of anger. Even talking to that child, don't talk out of anger because you say things that you shouldn't say. So when the other way to train, to help to actually discipline children without actually smacking them, I think this is honestly one of the best way to discipline children is to take away what means a lot to them. Take away their toys, take away their TV time, deny them their favorite programs on TV, their extracurricular activity like football and stuff. If you tell them you're not going to football today, I'm telling you that child would transform. So there's so many ways in which you can discipline a child without necessarily, smacking or even beating the child. But if you're enforcing punishment on a child, you need to explain why you're doing it, what exactly they did, what you did. This is why I'm doing it. And I've heard parents who will say, well, they should understand why, but how would they not know? How can a 5-year-old understand the logic of a 30-year-old man? You are assuming the child knows because you're 30-year-old, you understand, But the 5-year-old does not know why you're smacking them or why you are taking away their TV time. You need to explain it.
Yeah, okay.
And that's the difference between, the way we deal with it here and in the West and the way we deal with it in Africa. Because Africans, they don't owe you an explanation because they used to whack us stupidly.
Yeah, because I said so. I'm your parent.
Yeah, because I said so. You just have to, adapt to it. So children need to be taught and guided towards responsible behavior.
Okay. Colin?
Yes, in addition to what Cindy has just said, you see, with physical discipline, what I am going to say might be a bit controversial, but it makes sense when I finish. One, it depends on the age of the child. You see, when a kid is like 5-year-old, you have to be mindful how you discipline that child. I remember when I like to use myself as example, when my daughter was about that age, she likes to go where the socket is to play with it, because seeing the three holes want to show something in there. So the first time I saw her, I warned her, I said, don't touch that thing. It's dangerous. I said, she might not understand. Second time, warned her again. The third time, I said, I'm going to smack you. You touch it again, I will smack you. That instilled that fear into her. As Cindy was saying, I explained to her, see, you might not understand, but there's a high voltage of current going through this. If you touch it, you will die. I just put it like that. She still, when you expect like that little bit of scare or whatever, she was not budge. And I was, oh,
Person
let
doesn't
me,
even know
let me,
what death means anyway.
yes, let me don't waste my
Yeah.
time. But at that point in time, I look at the age, I say, you know what? But I would still like the child to understand when daddy says no, it's no. But the smacking or the beating, perhaps just to scare them and see. When once you realize they start understanding right from wrong, they understand it, you have to take your stand. As Cindy said earlier on, I would not discipline my child out of anger. I'll sit you down and let you know what you've done is wrong and you deserve a punishment. Because, say, for example, you have a curfew not to come home after 7 o'clock in the evening when you go out on weekends to play, to gallivant with your friends. If you come home after 7, there's a punishment awaiting you. The child will try one day and come home like 2 minutes after 7. Okay, that did not
See
say
how
anything.
far they can get away with it,
Yes.
whether you react or
Next
not.
time come quarter past, and how long is a piece of string? But when once it comes 2 minutes after, you say, oh, 2 minutes late, come here, blah, blah, blah. As Cindy said again, why I'm using Cindy now, because she made lots of vital points. Take something that the child likes like the most. What I normally takes the mobile phone. They won't do it without their mobile phone. Take your mobile phone off you. I'm talking about my, 14-year-old now. Take your mobile phone off you. You'll be like begging. And I say, no, you know that you've crossed the line. You have to pay the price. I say, let me give you an example. If they say no speeding, the speed limit is 20 miles an hour on this road. If you decide to do 30, you're taking the risk, fine. But if you caught, you have to pay the price. Now you've taken the risk, coming 2 minutes past the hour that you should have been here, you have to pay the price. So because of that, I'll keep your phone for one day. Next time you come 5 minutes, I will double it. And that would stop that. I'm just giving that example. It's not a
Yeah,
strong one, but for you to know that
that's a
taking
good one.
what matters most to them, that would get them to play ball. And
It's
you
a good
want
one. Yeah.
grounding the child as well is good. Because when you say go to your room, no TV, no nothing, blah, 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 for like a couple of hours or even 4 or 5 hours, that child knows that, okay, yes, 4 or 5 hours, fine. But let the child know if you do it again, I'm going to double it to 8 hours. That will now let the child start thinking, oh, let me don't try it. I bet you they'll try it once and see if you keep to your word. If you don't keep to your word, you've lost it. Trust me, the child will say, oh,
Yeah.
just talking word of
Yeah.
mouth. So keep to whatever you've put down and say, if you do this, this is what I would do.
Yeah.
Yeah. For me now, coming to the point of like, I don't believe in beating my kids. I believe in like, how can because the law obviously it prohibits it. You don't just beat your kids like that, where you can do other things so long as it's not smacking that would instill that would get them to like sustain injuries or marks on their body or whatnot. So I look for different ways. Like if you have to get pocket money, you mess about, like you mess up in school, you don't go to school on time, you always like on detention, and I ask your teacher, oh, this child is blah blah blah. I say, okay, instead of me giving you £100 a week, a month, sorry, I'm going to cut it down to 50 until you behave yourself again. That as well will help them to like play ball. As Cindy said, these things they cherish the most deprive them a little bit and see. You understand? Not
Okay.
that I'm against beating kids. I would beat my kids, but not in this country. Depends where I find myself.
Yeah.
In Africa, it's permitted. Oh, when I was going to school, I wouldn't say, but if you go to school late, you will never want to go late again. You only do it once, and then this is it. But here, the teachers, in fact, are scared of the kids.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk too much because of time factor, but I'll
Yes.
leave it here for now. All I would say is a for and against, but again, it depends where you live in the society you find yourself.
Okay. Right. Deji, just give me a second because I'm going to ask you to comment as well. Let me quickly take these comments from the chat. Yonyi says, yes, I believe it depends on the child. What works for one may not work for another, which is true. Some
Yeah,
kids, you don't even need to tell them twice. They're very, obedient,
yeah,
and they just do what you ask them to do, no stress. The other ones, you have to literally hammer it over and over again on their heads. Yeah. Um, Mimi says physical chastising is as a last resort. Some people use it as a means of abuse. Having said that, some parents are parenting through the lens of trauma. Okay, that's a good one. That's a good one. And then they continue, says there are some parents who use corporate punishment as their coping mechanism. They are stressed from work or the world. The innocent child receives that rage. Some parents know, some parents do not know better, I guess. Yeah, that's what you're trying to say. And then Judith, thank you so much for joining. Judith says, physical discipline for me is very important in bringing up a child, but there must be checks and limits. Make them see why you are disciplining them. This way, they see the reason for the disciplinary. Yes, exactly. I think quite in fact everybody said that in the panel as well, and you're completely correct. Mimi's comment as well about corporate punishment and the fact that some parents will discipline their child out of trauma, I think is a good one. Deji, please carry on.
Yes, Colin just said something that was very funny. That depending on where the country or whichever continent he is, will depend on how he would discipline that child. Knowing that
Yeah.
in Africa, uh, you just don't step out of line. Um,
No.
you know, I am a firm believer that discipline is required. That there is something says spare the rod and you spoil the
Spoil the
child.
child. Yep.
We should not forget that, the thing, what discipline really is for, or what, the smack is for, is to turn the child away, is to correct, is not to abuse. Because when it goes like, Cindy was saying, on the borderline of now you're brutalizing that child, that is wrong. That is, my children, when they were young and they would do something that is wrong, I call them, right, this is what you've done. Oh yeah, where's your hand? You get a smack on your hand, be it slippers or a belt.
Mm,
And that's just that inflicting on that pain there, you will remember the next time not to do it.
mm,
And interestingly enough, my daughter, who is now much older, we had a conversation, some time ago. And she said, "Oh, Dad, I think it was a drink that they used to drink." And then she said she'll go and pour water into it. And I'm thinking, at that age, my God, that would have been about 7, 8. So you can see, and now knowledge has really, really increased with,
mm-hmm.
with a lot of these children. And, firm discipline done properly, because we were really even brutalized. You
Yep.
didn't even want to go to school because you know that once you're late, just forget going, because that teacher will deal with you. And when you get home, but the thing was, I would say I was fortunate a bit, where my mother will step in there and he told the teachers, "Don't touch this boy. If not, you might lose your job." So I got away with a lot in school, and seeing what I got away with, and I use that with my children in correcting them. No, you can't do this. No, you can't do that. That is not allowed. And there it was, there are times you have to explain to them why. Most times some people, they don't, oh, you've done something wrong, you just start flogging that child. That's wrong. Explain to them, let them know, and this is the reason why you're
Mm,
getting this sort of punishment. Like Colin said, now, because children now have mobile phones, they have devices. We didn't know what mobile phone was or devices. No, there was nothing to take away from us. Is it they're going to take Ludo away from you, or cards? That will not be enough. So you will get, proper cane, but things are different. Culture
yeah.
is different.
Oh,
Times
yeah.
are different. So we move with the times, and we also use wisdom in the way we now, train these children, so that it doesn't even turn into rebellion, a way that even though you're disciplining them, and then they're looking at, oh, my friend, they don't get discipline in their home, so why am I? And then that's my, foster rebellion. So one has to use, complete wisdom, but
Yeah.
discipline. Um, getting the belts, for me, there is absolutely nothing wrong with it.
Mm. Okay, I mean, I think even the audience agree with everyone. Yonyi says, as Cindy said, we need to be careful not to discipline in anger. We need to embrace emotional intelligence in order to not to sabotage what we are trying to achieve. Absolutely, 100%. Now, with traditional schools under fire, because like many parents are taking matters into their hands because the schools, people are saying that the standards have dropped and so on and so forth. They're not really teaching them well and all that. So in terms of education, they're not really gaining a lot of education when they leave school. So with that in mind, is isolating the children through homeschooling beneficial? Is it harmful or is it helpful? What do we think? Is it empowering them or is it harming them? Deji.
That's a very interesting one because I know a lady who was homeschooling her daughter, and what I found was her daughter was a bit closed off. There was quite a few skills that the daughter didn't really have because the focus and emphasis was more on the education rather than the social skills that
Mm,
that child was having. And when my children was also young, they were sent to a Christian private school, but the facility was limited, even though the curriculum was biblical. It was different. They enjoyed it, but then it got to the point where the child was now craving to play football, to do other activities that school did not have. And so it was like you're isolating your children. So after that, it was now decided that for them to be put into a public school, and then you now notice the difference because then they're exposed to other behaviors, other children, other cultures, and certain things. You start seeing them bringing back home, where they were doing memory verse and everything else. Soon after, they forget all of that and they're
mm,
doing different things. So it has its good side, but also for me, helping that child really, or the children develop
mm,
within society. For me, I don't see it as a plus.
mm,
To be fair, because how you train your child in your own home is crucial, and all the boundaries that you put around that child is what will help that child, in future. So I'm not totally for homeschooling.
okay, okay, thank you. Collins,
Okay. What's the question again? I want
that's
to
what
make
happens
sure.
when we're chatting away. Yeah, the question is about homeschooling. Is it helpful or harmful?
Well, it's both helpful and harmful. You see, sometimes you want to teach your child, say, maths. Yeah. And you're not good at maths. You're teaching the child the wrong way. They got their own formula here. The way you were taught back home might be slightly different. A good example, my son did some maths, whatever. He has to do GCSE exams in the next few weeks. He gave it to me to mark some of the questions I marked wrong. She got them right. She said that go on the internet and see, and I felt so ashamed anyway. But it's a good thing that he understands that yes, I don't know maths. And so for me, if it's something you're fair with, something you want to like do homeschooling and bring your child, teach your child, that's fine. But even with that, you have to be careful because sometimes the teachers, they are trained to do it in a way, in a certain pace. They go by the syllabus and all these things. If I don't know, I just try to just inculcate all these things into the child bombard because I don't have the experience or not being trained how to bring these things into the child's memory. I will just get the child to either be scared of that thing, say, blind is too much to take in, or the child might be confused, thinking, well, this is the way they taught us in school. You bring in another way. So with homeschooling, I believe the expert should do the job. If for any reason you think that the teachers are not doing that much in school, you want to try it, do your research, go on the internet, train yourself, teach yourself so you can now pass it on to the child. You understand? Again, if you want to bring private tutor to come at home and teach your child, still fine. That because they're the experts, they know, but it might be too much. You might be spending money when perhaps the school that the child attends could help the child to get good grades. All I can say, for me, homeschooling is got to is I wouldn't say it's good or bad, it's both. It depends what
Okay.
you're teaching the child and what you know.
Okay. It's got its good sides and its bad side, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, Mimi says, I believe that if your child is not afraid of you as a parent, you have failed. Not afraid because you'll be beaten, but afraid of the consequences of your actions. These new generations have no fear. Yep. I think we talked about that earlier, which is so true. And Yoni says, and communication is key. Having those conversations so that it doesn't backfire when we are not exhausting our energy in the wrong place. And we are not exhausting our energy in the wrong place. Absolutely. Communication is key. Because the thing is, the kids of these days, the things that they know, I mean, the things a 2-year-old knows now, a 10-year-old in our generation didn't know it. Seriously, a 2-year-old, like you set them a task, they are able to navigate through that task and solve the problem. A 2-year-old can operate an iPad. I have seen it
Yeah.
with my own eyes. They can, by the time they're 3 or 4, they're already coding. What? It's crazy. Mimi says we also need to remember about neurodivergent children, which is true. Having said that, we need to be adaptive in discipline and disciplining our children, discipline for our differently able children. Yes, that's very true. Now, let's go a little bit away from this now and talk about step parenting. For a step parent, looking after unruly stepchildren, how can they um, cope or handle such situations? By the way, audience, if you, for example, believe in disciplining your child, or if you were disciplined, don't forget put it on the chat as well. But how can step parents cope in disciplining their stepchildren without them feeling that they're maybe abusing them? And is it okay for parents to impose their beliefs on them? Yes, go on, Cindy. Step parents.
Even though you didn't let me say what I wanted to say on homeschooling, but I would talk about parenting
All
because
right,
I
speak
had
a little bit about it, and then let's go into. I'm talking at the time.
yeah. Actually, for step parenting, it requires a lot of patience
Mm,
and you need wisdom because you are the step mother or the stepfather or whoever the step parent is should realize that these children are already either angry, bitter, or they feel abandoned, depending on the circumstances that to the state in which they became stepchildren. You need to have that, the parent need to understand that background first. So working with that, they need to be extremely patient and they need to be smart about it, about dealing with these kids, because you know um some of these children, maybe they have a parent that they lost their parent and they're not just ready to accept as either their father or their mother, so they are like they come into the marriage, the home already guarded and closed off, and they're not, no matter what you do as a step parent, they're not ready to accept you. So the parent who owns those children, first of all, need to do some work on those kids, and then the stepmother or the step whoever the step is need to ask God for wisdom if you're a Christian, and they need to be very smart and seek wisdom. And if you need, and then look for support, that I'm sure there are support groups for parents who deal with, who parent stepchildren. So you can get support, you can get advice, from those kind of group to help you. But I don't have experience in the area of step parenting. So the only thing I can say is you need to be very patient and very
Okay.
smart.
Okay, cool. Collins.
Well, that's a good question because the 14-year-old I made mention of is my stepson. So I am actually in it.
Mm,
You see, it's very difficult. I'm going to say this. Anyone who's not gone via that path might not understand. Because one, it could be, as Cindy said, it could be the child has lost his mom or a mom. Sorry, his mom or his dad. So you now come in as the one who's taken over. I believe the first thing you need to do is to forge good relationship with that child. Let that child believe you love that child as your own flesh and blood. Let that child believe whatever you're going to do to that child is for that child's betterment, for that child's, whatever, even if it's education, if you've been hard on that child to study or whatnot. When once that child has got that trust in you, that faith in you, even if the child may not accept you as, okay, yes, he's my real dad, or whatnot. But the child will look and say, I've got another dad. I've got somebody who is not my biological father, but in fact, he's just like my biological father. So
mm,
when once you forge that good relationship, if it works, the next thing you're going to do, if you've got children in the past, let the child know this was the way I brought my kids up. So I'm going to try to work with you, especially if your kids they've come out good and you're happy about it, and they know as well. So the once in a while again, the child might be rebellious, thinking, but hold on here, you're too hard on me or whatnot. That's why I always talk about the stick and the carrot. It's a push and pull. So
mm,
when you try to forge that, if you've been hard or try to put your rules down, it's it's important I say this. Perhaps your partner might think, hold on here, you're overacting now, you're pushing the kids too much, because it's easy for a mom to spoil the son, as I said earlier on. It's out of experience, just like I spoiled my daughter when she was growing up. So it's easy for that and the dad to spoil the daughter. So that there'll come a time when the mom will think you're too hard on the child. Oh, the child just forgot to clean his bedroom, and now you're going to ground the child, or he's not going to go play football, you're going to take the phone away. It's too far, going to extreme. But if you let the mom also know that I have a reason why I'm doing this, I have a reason why, and let the child know, that could help. But it's not working all the time though, because the child might have it up here, especially if they've gone through a divorce and the child is with the mom, and there's another man coming into the mom's life, and the child loves the dad, but he or she has no choice because the mom is the first point the government will say, you look after the child unless if you're not capable of it to do that. So if the child loves the dad and you come in to set rules or whatnot, boy, you're heading for a big, 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 big problem, because he's going to be telling you off. He's going to even find a way to see how best he can get you out of his mom's life
mm.
by frustrating you, and
Mm.
perhaps believe that the dad and the mom will reconcile and come back together. So these are things that would really preclude you from getting your way to the child. So all I would say, if you're a Christian, pray for wisdom, pray for God to be. I know, some people say, oh, that's for Christianity bit, but these are the things. That's what I did when I met my wife.
Mm,
She's had a child already, who's 14. I will not say my step, but I have to say it for the purpose of
mm,
this deliberation. So we get on well. Right now he's studying. I
mm,
brought his phone with me. So when he finished studying, he's got break to 2 hours on his phone, back to study, because GCSE is coming up. And he see, because I sat him down and explained to him, and I let him know, when you grow up, when you start working, you're going to be taking care of us. So I want to get a good job, right?
mhm,
You might be a MD for a big company. So I'll be like, oh, my son is. But you know what he said to me? But Dad, I'm good at football. I might make money from that. He says, yes, but have something up here that would never leave. You can
mm.
play for Arsenal or Man U or whatnot. Anything can happen. Injuries can happen, or you might
Yeah.
have to. It's a seasonal thing. When you
Mm,
finish, what's going to happen? The education. So that's
yeah.
what I inculcated into him, and we're best of friends. I will stop here for now.
Good. Thank you. Deji, Yes, answer the question. Like I said, guys, we are going to have a part two of this because there are a few other questions, but I'm going to play one more, a little snippet of a video for the last question for this segment, and then we can continue next week. But Deji, please, I respond to this question about step parenting.
Very, very interesting ones, similar to, Colin, myself, my wife, we have my own children, that live with us. So I understand, where the Colin is coming from. Very, very importantly, in terms of, step parenting, I think, you know, to understand, first of all, what has happened, with that child and where that child is at is very, very crucial for the party that it's not their own biological child. And, the love, care, cannot be overemphasized because that is the key that wins those children on side. And then in terms of when you want to correct or you want to admonish or any such thing is not looked at from the angle of, oh, this is not my mom or this is not my dad, why are you telling me this or why are you saying that? And the right balance is so, so important here, because if not, because it's the child that is really the important person in that regard to that parent, in ensuring that, hold on, I don't inflict any further damage to this child, because that child will be thinking, well, you're not my mom, or what has happened in the past with my parents, or they might be having, emotional pain that they're going through, from what had happened with their parents separating. Or some might even be happy that, oh, thank God my parents are separated, and but importantly is that the parent who they're taking on board someone else's child is so important, that they love that child and
See,
they're willing to take that child, as because if you're fostering or you're adopting, are you just going to treat that child anyhow? No, you're not. You're going to, it's expected of you that that child, is yours as your own biological child. If you cannot see that child in that light, then it's not going to work. And I know, my son, even in his older years that he came, suddenly just said to my wife, oh, and he was almost 20 or thereabouts, when he came to come and live with us. And then just, sat down and said, oh, I'm going to call, my wife, mom. And we were just shocked because it was
Wow.
unexpected. It was completely unexpected. That I was like incredible. But then you know, uh, with the other children is not, not that they don't, want to, but they, is not the same way, for them. And there is nothing wrong. You just see that they get to that point. And when they get to that point, things will naturally just flow for those children, in that way. So for me, the love that is shown honestly cannot, you even show love more than even what their mother or their father may want to do to them, so
mm,
that they know that really they can trust you. You're here for me. I believe in you. And you forge a relation. I've heard of uh, where uh, you know the child became almost like the biological child of that parent,
yeah.
because the way they forged it was incredible. The man who those were his children was thinking he felt left out because they would travel and just leave him and do things. And it's like, wow. So it can work, but also we have to have the right balance.
Mm. Okay, okay. Right, let me play this video, guys. I hope it can play.
I'm a girl of 25 years old, living with my mother
You guys
then.
see the video?
This whole thing started when I was
Can you hear it?
19 years. Then
Yeah.
Yes.
my
Yes.
mom, she
Yeah.
introduced me to hook up stuff.
Your mother introduced you to hook up.
Yes,
Like you are sure she's your mother?
to hook up stuff. People will get better mama. I don't know what God do for them. Or it's not that I'm saying I don't have a good mother, or I'm saying I have a bad mother. But I'm just saying that people will get good mama don't know what God do for them. If you listen to this my story, you know the reason why I said so. So it all started like going from one man to another, just to live well, to live a good life, bringing money to the table in the house. And again, she's the one that do prepare this charm for me. Though she do travel, not here where I live. Like she traveled far to another state to do this charm for me. Let me call it charm,
Hmm.
so that I can use for the business. It's business, I will call it now.
So the hookup now is the business.
It's
Your
business.
mother did not have any business that bring money to the house.
She doesn't do.
It's only
She
when you
doesn't
do
do
hookup and
business.
bring money.
Yes, it's only when I go out, do normal runs, I bring money to the table. So as I was saying in my story, as I was saying, going from one man to another, each time I'm about to go out, she'll give me this bottle, and in that bottle contains oil. Like she'll tell me to rub it on my pickles and my face to attract man now that will drop, like give me better money, not all this yahoo yahoo money, not all this yahoo yahoo money. And the people I go out to meet, if I tell now, not yahoo yahoo guys, men, if you hear men with money, if I'm coming home, at times I come home, nothing less than 200-300K will follow me and come house.
Okay, guys, I wanted to play that video. That
Wonderful.
video was actually dropped today. So it wasn't like, oh, it was last year or whatever. This was dropped today, about 5-6 hours ago, right? Which brings me to the last question for today's show. We'll continue next week. What do you say about parents who introduce their daughters to prostitution? Like this lady, for instance, she was talking about how her mother went and prepared charm for her. For those who are not Nigerians, who do not understand what she was saying, the lady said she got into this hookup, they call it hookup, when she was about 25 years old, right? Her mother introduced her to it. Her mother went and did some voodoo or charm or whatever they call that thing that they do, so that she will rub the charm on her face, so that any man who sees her would fall for her. Whatever she asks, they would do it, and also on her private area, right? So that when she has that intimacy or sexual connection, intercourse with them, that's it. They are done. They're done. The person will become like a fool to them. They can ask for anything they want from the man, especially if the man is quite well to do. The man doesn't have a choice but to do it, right? And then that's one scenario. Then you have another scenario where mothers. I don't think it happens a lot in Africa, but here in the UK, and I think mainly, especially in the States, in America, you find mothers who actually would pay for a call girl to come and have sex with their son on their 18th birthday, under the guise of, I'm trying to break him into it and expose him to what it is like, and so that he knows what to expect. And they pay for a call girl to come and sleep with their 18-year-old child. So that happens as well. So there's two questions I'm posing here now. This mother introducing her child to prostitution, and it's not just mothers doing it. Some parents in Africa especially, I have to say, would even buy a laptop and mobile phone or whatever for their son, encouraging them to go into fraudulent practices and all that, Yahoo, whatever they call it. And then they would even say to the child, go and come back. Or when you're coming back, buy me shawarma, buy me ice cream, buy me this, buy me that. Right? They'll say that to the girl when she's going out, and to the son too when he's going out. Right. So what do you say about this, where the boys are being introduced to this sort of sexual activity because they're trying to help them to be more enlightened, and then the women being introduced to prostitution. Deji.
This is foreign. So this is absolutely crazy. I mean, that is just not a parent, that is not a mother or a father that you open your child into demonic activity. Um, that is something is drastically wrong. It's not something that is, that you can. I've heard of, this um, young 18-year-olds or so. I can't remember what the thing is called. I think it's in the States where, for him to be baptized, so to speak, they get him somebody to show him the ropes. Um, and that is ridiculous. And, in terms of, that video, um, I mean, that is just shocking. So honestly, it's something that, you're lost for words. But this is what, obviously, this highlights what is going on. And
Yeah.
this is why, from the onset, saying that, parenting, there must be, because Lola made a comment that, even if you're fostering, they take you, there's certain guidelines. That this is why it's so essential and important that, people who want to have, children, they should have, honestly, I mean, I'm for the government themselves to have some sort of guidelines that you must follow to raise that child in the right way, and not just let that child just be anything. Because this is what, a mother who can prostitute the child is a devil. It's just that is just a complete devil. And I can't imagine as a father, for the life of me, just such a, I mean, even when the children want to say they want to, maybe they want to go out, I'm concerned. Or maybe if someone says, oh, I have even my son saying he has a girlfriend, I mean, as old as he is, over 25, I'm thinking, who is she? This, that, questioning, let alone this. This is ridiculous.
Hmm. Okay, do you know what? I think maybe we can quickly just put in the last question. Then we don't have to have a second show. So when you have children, ballet class. Oh, sorry, Cindy, and I want you to answer the two questions at the same time. I'm just trying to think about time. Cindy and Colin, you're going to answer that question and then this last question at the same time as well. So when you have scheduling, parents are saying, okay, this child, ballet classes, karate classes, singing lessons, swimming classes, and then apart from their homework and their school activities and everything, and every other activity that they're getting into, are parents actually overscheduling their kids nowadays? And are they killing their creativity? Because maybe these kids don't even want to do any of those things. Like Colin was saying earlier, maybe the son just wants to be a footballer. They don't really care about karate and ballet and piano or whatever, or swimming. Maybe it's just that. So when parents are overscheduling their kids like this, are they killing their creativity? Is the system broken? Why are parents doing that to their kids? So Cindy and Colin, answer the other one, the first question, and then this one, and then Deji, you can answer this last. So Cindy, over to you.
Yeah, regarding because I'm just still reeling from the shock of watching that. It traumatized me, you know. When you see when I think I'll talk about the daughters, the mother pimping the daughters first. This kind of behavior leaves a scar on girls eventually, because you find out that, especially if they are being forced into it, you find out that eventually these girls, when they need to go into a proper relationship, they can't even do it. They don't even know how to get into a relationship. They either become traumatized from it that they don't want any man to touch them,
Mm,
or they get so traumatized that they become so promiscuous. And then most of them keep looking for a father figure in the people they need to get married to. You find, and that's why I'm not saying that's the case in every situation, but that's what usually happens to girls like that. They end up, looking for very old, older men almost 30, 40 years, the age gap between them, because they're looking for a father figure, because they're used to, serving older men. So they don't know any better. So any young boy coming to them, you are like a toy to them, you
Mm.
know. So that has messed up that child, and that child will need therapy for the rest of her life unless God intervene, you know.
Mm.
And for the boys, I don't understand when there is no problem and then you are creating a problem for your own child. I mean, let these kids grow up naturally. Let them be children and let them naturally grow from children into adulthood. You're setting them up for broken homes, to become serial cheats in the future. Because by the time you introduce it, you bring a boy to sleep with a prostitute or to a call girl. These people are experienced. They teach them all sort of things. So by the time your child is getting ready to get, even from relationship, let's even start with relationship. They can't keep a relationship because they keep comparing everything from their experience in that relationship. And then it becomes, they start having multiple relationships at the same time,
Mm.
which makes them become serial cheats, in relationship.
Mhm.
And some of them end up even looking for older women for life partners, you
Mm.
know. Yeah, it's something that is common these days, but I'm just saying that this behavior can trigger those kind of mentality
Yeah.
and make boys decide that, I prefer older women, somebody who is as old as my mother, that's the person I can deal with, and then even when they end up marrying a normal girl, that relationship in most cases they will end up in divorce
Mm.
because he will because he would have expectations of how he wants his wife to serve him. And if his wife is not comfortable with those kind of fetish things that he wants, you know, it will become a problem.
Mm.
The marriage start breaking down, and then they go their separate ways. So
Mm.
it's I just find it very odd. And like they just said earlier, regarding the woman who pimps the women who pimps their daughters, I think they are spawn of Satan, honestly, because I don't understand how a mother that you give birth to a child and then you hand your child over to men to just
Oh, some of
make
them
them.
actually have orgies. They and their daughter will be sleeping with the same man. They have a threesome.
Wonderful.
It's mind-boggling, so it's sad because that's the society we live in today. So, and the bottom line is, honestly, if you're watching this show, you need God to survive in this society.
Yeah,
Mm.
You
yeah.
really do need God. If you
Mm.
don't know God, try and let him find you. Put
Mm.
yourself, because we're not speaking, we're not looking for him. He is the one looking for us because he wants to have a relationship with us.
Mm.
Mm.
So you need to find him,
Okay.
And then the last question about overshadow
Yeah.
kids. Hmm. Most of these parents is about competition. I want my child to be better than that one. I want my child to be so perfect. They are trying to raise the perfect kid,
Mm.
Mm.
you know, and it's not possible because this is a bit much for children. Yes, if I'm not against, extracurricular activities, but at least have a conversation with your children.
Mm.
Try and find out what their passion is, what they're interested in, because you can register them for all of these things and they are not interested in it. And believe me, years down the line, they will leave all this and you would have wasted so much money,
Mm.
putting them in all these different activities. So because of time, I'll just stop here.
Okay. Okay. Colin.
Boy, watching the video, just like what DJ said, it's so disturbing. In fact, looking at that, I can't believe things like this happen in modern days society. But again, it is what it is. Now, with that one, that child would never ever. Let me go to the daughter that's been pimped to sleep with all his men to make money and whatever the parents would do. So long as for them, all they care about is money, not the child's I mean,
Mm.
Yeah.
happiness or well-being or whatever the child wants in life. Keep pushing the child, giving things to rub on her face, like private parts to get men, to trap men. This is bad. And when that child wants to settle down, that child would be disturbed because one, thinking people know her already for what she does, sleep with different men. No man in their right sense of mind would look and say, I want to marry you. Even if they think, okay, I'll relocate, perhaps I go somewhere, especially in Nigeria that is so big. Perhaps I move from Abuja, sorry, it's Abuja, yeah, Abuja to Delta, whatever. You still be worried that perhaps the man that would want to marry you might have a friend who has a friend, or who would have met with you or slept with you. I watch these Nollywood films while I'm an actor.
Mm.
I say these things happen. So that child would always be worried, thinking one day the husband would know. And guess what? They think, oh, as soon as the husband knows about this, that's the end of the marriage. Because no man will want to be proud of their wife, saying, oh, that's my wife, thinking, oh, my friend, oh, that's whatever. I used to sleep with her. She's good in bed and all these things. So that would be in that child's mind playing all the time. So for that child to settle down is going to be
Mm,
difficult.
okay.
That's one. Now getting a call girl for your son's 18th birthday. Okay, yes, he's an adult now, so he's above the sorry, now he's not going to be like child abuse or whatever because he's turned 18. But it's bad. Bad in the sense that first of all, that child is committing fornication, which is against whatever the Bible says. Yeah. That child might want to be a God-fearing person, but that mom is pushing that child down another path wherein the child is going to blame the mom in the future. And these prostitutes or these call girls, whoever they call them, they know how to do these things. When he would have finished with that child will always use that prostitute, let me say prostitute, as a yardstick to know how this other woman performs. If you dating the girl and say, oh, this person can do it better, you're going to keep looking out, perhaps getting four,
Mm.
five, six,
Yeah.
and try which one is better. And you might
Mm.
not even be able to settle down.
Mm,
It's bad that these things are happening. I think the government should do something, even though the boy is of age, is 18 years, but still, I don't know. That's not good parenting at all. Whatever happens for the boy, is not bringing food on the table. You see, mom wants to please the boy, looking at, let me go down this road. For the
mm,
mom, now getting the daughter to whatever, okay, perhaps that's their means of survival, but it's still bad. There are other ways to generate income, not
mm.
that. You're spoiling that child's life, you're spoiling the boy's life. It's bad. Anyone who agrees to this, that person is a son or daughter of Lucifer. Sorry about it.
Totally,
Thank you.
totally. Deji, overscheduling.
Well, that is just I agree with what Cindy said. That could be competition, and you're just putting too much on that child, and with this day and age already there is already a lot going on.
Yeah.
After school club, then football. I remember with my son when he started playing football. But thank God it was just, football. But that was in itself was a lot. Because then when they now got to a particular thing, it was now, oh, leaning on Sundays. It's like, whoa. So that means that child is not going to go to church. So
Mm,
because he's going to be playing football, and then you'll be driving them everywhere, competition, the money you're spending, and at the end of the day, that in some other times can kill the confidence of that child, because the expectation, if it's not met, then you're just even damaging your own child. And that is also back to that one of the very first things of that was talked about in Molly coddling these
mm,
children, oh, they want to do this. And I remember that my one of my sons was doing karate, and I remember I just had, as a joke, I just warned him. I said, man, don't think after doing this thing, then you will come and challenge me, because
mm,
I'll still deal with you. Um, but this is just something that the society now is totally different. We didn't have any such thing of
mm,
that nature. Is you come back home, they will tell you read your books.
mhm,
We didn't
Yeah.
have games. We didn't. So things have changed.
A
But
lot.
it's
A lot.
balancing these things as as things, because, and I wonder what the next 15, 20 years will
Oh
be,
boy.
ahead of time, how those things might be with AI and different things now. So
Yeah.
unfortunately, this is something that I think, but when you look at it, it's parents who also even have the means to, so they want to compensate, and sometimes things that they would have wished they did when they
They're
were
living
growing
their
up,
lives through their kids.
Yeah,
they
Yeah.
now want to
yeah,
pour that, or
yeah,
on the children, for the children
Mm,
to
yeah.
know, oh yeah, and then they will be telling you, oh, do you know my son does this, my daughter
mm,
does that, and every, as a show off,
mm.
what they never ever could
Yeah.
ever achieve. So may God help us, honestly, in this day and age, seriously.
Amen. Let me take these comments from the chat. Yoni says, Yoni, thank you so much. She says, with regards to the video, this is a mindset issue. A mindset reset is needed. Minds need to be reprogrammed, exposure to the wrong programming. A lot going on out there. People are allowing desperation and lack to dictate their choice and identity. And
Mm,
yes, they will take that trauma everywhere, which is true. And then Mimi says, Mimi, thank you so much. Mimi says, in relation to the video, we are looking at it from the lens of privilege. No normal mother would consciously send her daughter into prostitution. Society needs to look at it at itself. And I think Deji said the same thing earlier about the boys in the West. There is an acceptance of sexual promiscuity.
mhm,
It's not believed that men can be sexually abused until that is talked about.
mhm.
Nothing's going to change because boys will be boys, I guess. Yeah, okay. You guys can comment on that later. But while you're commenting on this, just one more comment. I just want one word from you guys. What do you guys think about teaching children about LGBT thing? Who has the right to teach their kids about is it LGBT they call it and all that? Is this, should we even be teaching our kids this in the first place? Deji,
Yeah, my God. LGBTQ, and they say
is
there's a
there an
plus.
age? Is there an acceptable age for them to know about it or not at all?
Well, I mean, the thing is this, we have to just go back to what the scripture says. Um, you know, the scripture, even in Deuteronomy, um, tells us in, I believe, in 6, was talking about, when they were teaching them about the Ten Commandments, and it was telling the parents, for the parents to teach, that to the children, not LGBTQ plus. We're to teach our children in the ways of God, in the ways that these children will be meaningful in society. But unfortunately, this thing has crept into the society, into the culture, but in this country, or in some Western societies, not in other, countries, because I don't see Muslims discussing this with their children.
Mm,
This is something that even with the school, they take exception to, and they're able to enforce that. But for others, who are not, Muslims, they will now start teaching those children from the age of, I believe, from around about 7, onwards. And by the time they're 11, they start showing them videos, that my daughter was sharing, that, oh, they were showing them videos of, childbirth from, tender ages, that was, was traumatic for them. So as us parents, it's guiding our children away from this thing when they get into an age, that adolescent age, you know notifying them, but not, just how you handle yourself sexually, with the opposite sex, and guiding them in those ways. um and these are things that I'm not expecting the school to be telling my child, that unfortunately this country, it's a law.
yeah.
And you can't even, tell the school. They now have a way to tell you in reverse that, do you know that, that might be beneficial for us to explain to the child, and then they override you. So
Mm,
it's something they're pushing on these young children. And this is just the antichrist agenda that is just going on. And we have to help our children stand them away from these things. That if they come home, what they've heard, then you can help to guide them away from it. But I don't see, a tender age. I mean, but these children hear things already from the school at a very tender age that
Mm.
parents now struggle to now deal with, themselves.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure I can say, oh, at this particular age, to be fair, different children develop in different ways, and you go according to the development of your own child.
Okay. Thank you, Cindy. Very quickly.
Yeah, I just believe that parents should be allowed to exclude their children from this in school.
Yeah,
They should have that choice to say,
Mm.
I
yeah,
don't want my child to be part of this. You know, and for me, right from when my kids were young, I don't teach them LGBTQ, but I teach
Mm.
them about, you know, about sex, about things like that. These are things that I have conversation with my kids. You
Mm.
know, because I don't want somebody to teach them from outside. I
Mm.
want to be the one to teach them. So what I teach them is already rooted and grounded in them based on the word of God. And so
Mm.
when they hear something outside, what they've been taught at home guides them outside. So
Mm.
that way they are not easily manipulated or confused about what they hear from outside. So it depends on parents. Parents need to be bold enough to start to talk about these things
Mm.
with their children from
Mm.
from a certain age, because when from the age when they know right from wrong, you need to start talking to them about these things.
Yeah.
mm,
Okay.
you
Okay.
know
Thank you, Colin.
Yes, I joined the other two in saying that it's for the parents to decide. Because if I am a parent who's got like a 5-year old, as Cindy just said, when the age is appropriate, when I know the child can understand right from wrong, as well as what Deji was saying, I would now decide to start inculcating that into the child in a way that the child would understand. Because sometimes when they do these things at school, it's difficult because it's a case wherein the child might be confused, thinking, oh, what is this, and want to
Mm.
try it,
Mm. Yeah.
and that's where it goes wrong. But you as a parent, you have the way you're going to put it and tell a child, don't try this. I'm just telling you for you to know when the age is right, when it's better. If you want to try it, fine, but not now. You understand? Because sex is not anything you can just, you see, as the saying goes, curiosity kills the cat.
Yeah.
That child might want to try and say, well, okay, they've been talking about this. Let me go and see what it's all about. And
mm,
then that's when something might develop into something, and so I don't know. But again, the parent should have a right to tell the school, don't teach my child this or ever. I will
Mm.
teach my child this LGBT thing, but not you for you. If the government says no, it's something in school, it's in the curriculum, they have to be taught, fine. But I will be ahead of them by letting my child
Yeah,
know exact.
exactly.
Mm.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Yonyi says indoctrination and population control.
yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Seriously, it's been quite a show. I was thinking that we'll probably have like a part
An
two of it,
hour.
but I just wanted us to. Sorry, are you going to say something?
Oh no, I was just saying another hour.
Yes. No. 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 You know.
No, I'm only joking.
But it's been quite a show and very intense as well. But I think it was necessary. I think it was a
Yeah.
show that we had to have this conversation. But here's the truth, and the truth is this: parenting will never be perfect, right?
Mm,
It's messy, it's nuanced, but we can strive for intentional parenting,
mm,
where love meets accountability, where values meet flexibility. Solutions? Do we have solutions to everything we've talked about tonight? Well, for me, I believe in balance. I believe,
Mhm.
there's a saying that says it takes a village to raise a child. I think some one of the um, guys in the chat mentioned that earlier. It takes a village to raise a child. So encourage community parenting and shared wisdom. For me, if I was to contribute to this, I believe we should embrace cultural values with critical thinking as well, especially with now the modern things, the way things have changed. But we should prioritize mental health as well. So it's not just about having grades and, when you're overshadowing your kids, prioritize their mental health. Are they ready for this? And your job really is to steer them in the right direction as parents, not to stifle them. If a parent is artistic, don't discourage them. Don't force them to choose another career because you feel is best for them, or a career that you wish you had, but you didn't have. And most importantly, lead by example. Model what you want to see, because kids watch who we are, not just what we say. They watch who we are and what we do. So tonight, we didn't just talk about parenting. We confronted the foundations of our future, really. Every child we raise carries the blueprint of the society we are building. So I leave you with this. Parenting is not a trend. It's a legacy. Parenting is a legacy. So what will your legacy be as a parent? So let's keep the conversation alive, whether it's in schools or at our homes, online, in our communities. Just let's keep this conversation alive. And if tonight's conversation has sparked something in you, please don't stay silent. Just comment below. Keep, even after the show, please keep commenting. Go back to the show. You can watch it and just put something on the video on the chat. Yeah. And tag somebody who needs to hear it. And I just want to appreciate your support for subscribing once again to the channel. If you haven't done so, please subscribe. We want to hit the 500 mark before the end of this month. And with your support, I'm sure we'll do it. So I would like to thank my fantastic guests. Oh my goodness. Seriously, I wish I could have you here every single week. I want to thank you for your amazing insights and, for everything you've done. I really appreciate it. Don't forget, if you want to be a guest on my show as well, please send an email to empoweredlifewithcleopatra@gmail.com, right? If you've got any confessions you want to make, please also send an email to the same address, empoweredlifewithcleopatra@gmail.com. So guys, thank you so much for joining. It's been a long conversation. Thank you so much. Let's call it a night. And let's see what Young says. Absolutely, at Cindy. Same here. We need to have these conversations with them. This is what I have done as well. These days, home is the child's haven now, because out there it's not the best of all. Absolutely. Thank you all for your efforts. Yoyi continues. Cindy, Deji, Collins, and Cleopatra. Beautiful discussion and very much needed. Thank you all very much. Unfortunately, I have to leave now. So do we, darling. Thank you so much. God bless you, everyone. Thank you. And remember, be good, be kind, but most of all, be empowered. Thank you, my guests, once more. I love you all. Thank you, guests. Bye, guys. Bye for now.
Bye.
Empower life with Cleopatra. Awaken the best version of you. Unlock your true potential. Empower your mind, body, and soul. Live with intentions, live with purpose. Empower your dreams, make it happen today. No matter your age, rise and shine. Live boldly, live authentically. It's your time to rise and shine. Empower life with Cleopatra. Awaken the best version of you. Your journey starts today. You've got one life to live. Love yourself, be kind to others, break free and let your spirit soar. Empower life with Cleopatra. Will help you awaken the best version of you.